Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate you to cook more for your family and to hopefully also give you some new meal ideas. I like to keep things real life over here. I share the fails, I share when we eat out. Also, most of my meals are pretty easy. Every now and then I will whip up something a little bit more like time consuming, but most of the meals are pretty simple. So if you like these kinds of videos, I do hope that you will subscribe down below and come back and see my future videos. And if you are new, also let me know down below in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night I made burgers, so I just start off by taking my ground beef and pattying it out into burger patties. This is a little bit over a pound, and usually I get about 5 burgers out of it. Then my preferred method of cooking burgers is in my cast iron pan with a little bit of bacon grease. So I've got my cast iron pan over like a medium heat. I add just maybe like half of a tablespoon of bacon grease in there to coat the pan. And then I add in my burgers and then I season those up on both sides with salt and pepper. That's the only thing I like to put on our burgers, and they turn out great every time. Here is what all we had. I put cheddar cheese on these burgers and let it melt. We had some leftover bacon from breakfast, so I didn't even have to cook that up to have some bacon cheeseburgers. We had tomato, we had some fresh veggies on the side like carrots and cucumbers, and then we had some pickles and some French onion dip and ruffles as well. So this is my plate. I picked some carrots and cucumbers to go on the side and some chips and dip. Lily doesn't like tomatoes on her burger, but she does like them on the side. And Elijah chose to have a pickle and some carrots and ranch. It is Saturday, and tonight for dinner, as you can see, we ordered Chinese food. Andy has been off for the last week, and I've just been cooking a lot. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Usually we do simple things for lunch, but I've been cooking more for dinner. I mean, more for lunch since he's home. So I just wanted to break from cooking. So we ordered Chinese food. Andy got house fried rice. And then we got our little crunchy things to go with our soups. We got a bunch of chicken on the stick because the kids eat this. It comes with the dinner, and then they always have a coupon when you spend a certain amount, you get extra chicken on a stick. So plenty of chicken on a stick. That's what all these bags are. Andy got some wonton soup. Egg drop soup comes with my meal. That's some sweet and sour sauce to go with my sweet and sour chicken, which I got sweet and sour chicken and lo mein. We got some pork egg rolls and then some chicken fried rice. The kids are going to eat some chicken fried rice and some chicken on a stick. That's what they love. And we'll have plenty of stuff left over to eat some for lunch tomorrow as well. But that is going to be dinner for Saturday. Sunday night I made some steak quesadillas. I had this meat from Kroger that I picked up on markdown. The cut is like carne picada, I think. It's some sort of like chopped up steak, and I use it for like taco meat or like a stir fry or something, but this time I decided to make like quesadillas with it, and I just seasoned that up with some carne guisada seasoning. I think that's how you say it. I found it in like the Hispanic aisle at the grocery store. It says it's good for steak. I had used it for one recipe before, that's why I bought it. So I used a bunch of that to season up the steak, and I just cooked it in my cast iron skillet with a little bit of oil until it was cooked through. Once the steak was done, I just moved that pan to the side and got out another frying pan to make our quesadillas. And in that, I just melted a little bit of butter over a medium heat, and then I put some tortillas in there. This is how I like to do it, like with 2 in there, kind of folded in half, because it makes it a little bit... It makes it so you can like cook more at one time. And then I just topped them with some cheese, a little bit of that steak, a little bit more cheese, and just let them cook till they were like nice and golden on either side. I just served our quesadillas with some black bean soup on the side. A couple months back, I made this black bean soup in a what's for lunch video, and I actually had so much left over that I froze it. So this I pulled out from the freezer, let it thaw out in the fridge, and then I just heated it up in a pot on the stove. And it's great just like by itself, but it's also really good with like quesadillas dipped in it. It's like, I don't know, it's like kind of like grilled cheese and tomato soup in that way. Like you dip the cheesy thing in the soupy thing. Yeah, it's definitely like one of our staples now. We love this black bean soup with cheese quesadillas. Monday night, I made lemon chicken pasta. This comes out of the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that I've had since I was 18, and we love this recipe. It's super easy and really delicious. So I just started off by bringing some salted water to a boil and cooking up some penne pasta. I always have this cookbook linked to my Amazon store, and I will also have the recipe linked down below for y'all as well. Then in a bowl, I add some chicken breast that I've cut up into like 1-inch pieces, along with some flour and some salt and pepper, and I just toss that around to make sure the chicken is nice and coated. In a skillet over medium heat, I heated up a couple tablespoons of oil, and then I added in my chicken once it was hot. And I just cooked my chicken for a couple of minutes on each side, making sure it got nice and crispy, and then I removed it from the pan once it was cooked through. Then I added a little bit more olive oil to the pan along with a bunch of minced garlic, and I just let that minced garlic cook for about 30 seconds to get nice and fragrant. Then I added in some lemon juice, chicken broth, and pepper, and then I just let this simmer for a couple of minutes until it starts to reduce. After the sauce had been simmering for probably about 5 minutes, it started to reduce a little bit, and so I added back in my chicken and some parsley and gave that a stir, and then I added in my cooked penne pasta and some Parmesan cheese, and I just let this sit for a couple of minutes so the Parmesan cheese could melt, and then it was ready to eat. So most of us just had a side salad with this, but Lily doesn't like salad, so she had cucumbers and tomatoes. Here's mine with a big salad, banana peppers, cucumber, tomato, Parmesan cheese, some of that Olive Garden Italian dressing. And this is Elijah's, and yeah, this pasta is so good. It's not like super saucy, as you could see. Like, it only looks like a little bit of sauce, but it is so good. If you like lemon flavored pasta especially, definitely give this a try. Tuesday night, I made some shake and bake pork chops. I had this barbecue like shake and bake coating mix from Aldi, and it was really good. It was the first time I used this flavor. I had the original one before, but it was the first time I used the barbecue one, and I ended up using both pouches because I thought I needed that much to cover my pork chops, because I thought I had thinner cut pork chops. But this was a pack of pork chops from Good Chop, and they were actually 4 really, really thick pork chops, which were really good, but not what I was expecting. I was trying to see, because it was, you know, frozen when I got it. I was trying to see how many were in there, and I thought that they were thinner cut ones, so I thought I would need more coating for them, but I could have just gotten away with using one of the pouches of the packet. I should have just opened one and then opened the other if I needed it. So I had way too much coating left over, but I just got that in a Ziploc bag with the pork chops, shook them around, and then I made them in the air fryer. So I just laid them out on my air fryer baking sheet, and then these went in the air fryer on 350 for about 25 minutes, because these, as I said, were really, really thick. They were like 1.25 inches thick, and I don't typically make pork chops that are that thick, but these were absolutely delicious with this like shake and bake coating on them. And also made in the air fryer. Like, they got really crispy, but they were still like really like moist and like juicy on the inside. I don't know, they turned out perfect. And here's what they looked like when they were done. As I said, these were from Good Chop. They had sent me like a box, but this is not a sponsored video. If you are interested in trying it though, I do earn a commission if you use my link down below, and you get $50 off your first box. To go with the pork chops, I just made a simple box of rice pilaf and some green beans. Wednesday night, I made spaghetti pie. So I started off by bringing some salted water to a boil to cook up some spaghetti noodles. Only need about 4 ounces of spaghetti noodles. And then I also cooked up some Italian sausage with some minced garlic. And you only need half a pound of the Italian sausage, but I just cooked up the whole pound, and then I froze the other cooked half so that I could use it in a future recipe. This is another recipe from that Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that I mentioned earlier with the lemon chicken pasta toss. This is one of my favorite cookbooks. I don't know if it's because I've had it since I was 18. It was a gift from my dad, and I've cooked like a lot of recipes from it, or like what, but it's a great cookbook. I cook so many things from it. So it'll be linked down below, as well as the link to this recipe. So when my meat was cooked through, I just went in with a paper towel to soak up any excess grease, and then I removed about half of this meat to save for another recipe, and then I added in some marinara sauce. The original recipe does have you just add in 8 ounces of tomato sauce and then add some seasonings and whatnot. You could do that if you wanted to. I just don't feel like doing that, so I just use a little bit of our favorite like marinara sauce from Aldi to equal about 8 ounces. I don't measure it, I just do enough to kind of, you know, coat the meat. When my pasta was done, I drained it and then returned it to the pot on a separate eye so it wasn't hot anymore. And then I added in about 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 egg, and I was supposed to add butter too, but I forgot and ended up adding the butter after the fact. But you are supposed to add a couple tablespoons of butter to this as well. Then I added my spaghetti noodles to a 9-inch pie plate and just kind of pressed it around the bottom and up the sides to kind of form our crust. And then I'm going to top that with about 8 ounces of cottage cheese, spreading that all the way around to kind of, you know, have a layer of cottage cheese over the whole thing. And then I added on my meat sauce on top of that, and then a bunch of shredded mozzarella cheese on top, and then this went in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes. And here is what it looked like when it came out. I just let this sit and cool for about 5 minutes before cutting into it, so it kind of holds its shape better, kind of like lasagna, you know. And then it holds its shape pretty well most of the time. You got like a little nice slice of spaghetti pie, and then we had some salad on the side. This is a family favorite. It's just like spaghetti basically, and like the rest of my family absolutely loves spaghetti, could eat it every single day. Me, on the other hand, I gotta switch it up and have like, I can have spaghetti, but I just gotta like make it a little bit different. So this helps like make it a little bit different. And the last meal of the week was Brunswick Stew. So I have shared this recipe here on my channel in the past. It's got its own separate video, but I was kind of using up some things in the fridge, and so I switched things up just a little bit. But I started out, as always, by melting 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to use that to cook my onion and garlic in. After letting my onions and garlic cook for about 5 minutes, my onions were starting to get translucent, so I added in my frozen lima beans. This is about 1.5 cups of frozen lima beans, and I just add those in there, and a lot of the time they're like really stuck together, so I put the lid on the pot and just kind of help steam them and break them apart. And once they're broken apart completely, I just let it cook for about 2 minutes. Then I added in a can of diced tomatoes, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, about 3/4 cup of our favorite barbecue sauce, and then about 2 cups of broth. Now this is where I changed something. Usually I would do chicken broth in this, but I had half of a carton of some beef broth in the fridge that I really wanted to use up and not go to waste. So I added that in here instead, and it was the first time I'd ever made it with beef broth, and it still turned out great. And I did still add a couple teaspoons of the Knorr chicken bouillon to this to add a little bit more flavor. So once I got all that in there, I stirred it around and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Then I added in 1 can of drained corn and then my meat. So I did probably about 1.5 cups of cooked turkey. This was left over from Christmas that I had in the freezer, and probably about the same amount of pulled pork that I had, I don't know, from like a month or 2 ago, also in the freezer. I make that in the crock pot, and I always have leftovers. So I added both of those in, and then I also added in some pepper and some hot sauce, which is completely optional. It depends on if you want it hot or not, and some dried thyme. And then at this point I was thinking, you know, it looks a little bit too thick. I wanted a little bit more soupy, so I did add in 1 cup of chicken broth that I made with some water and Knorr chicken bouillon. And then I let this simmer for another 10 minutes. Before serving, I just tasted it to make sure there wasn't any other seasonings I wanted to add, but it was perfect the way it was. And then to go with it, I always serve some sort of bread or something. I did some Sister Schubert's rolls that I cook in the air fryer. These only take about 7 minutes in the air fryer on 350. And that is going to do it for another week of What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you got any new ideas for recipes to try, let me know what you plan on trying in the comments down below. And as always, any links that I mentioned will be in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!